Thank you, Carol. Thank you. I'm glad to be here with you to talk about children. God has given us the most important task that could possibly be given to anyone when He allows us to be a parent. And along the way of being a parent, we experience sometimes great joy and great difficulty. And I'd like to share with you some things that I've learned in the process of being a parent that perhaps will make some of those difficult moments a little less bumpy for you. If we can just notice what children notice in their world, I think it will help us to understand why they tend to be less than perfect. Children have an uncanny ability to get our attention. My wife and I, for about 14 years, have taught in the singles department in my church, and I have learned so much about single parenting from those individuals as they have shared their lives with us. Recently, a single mom was sharing with me an experience with her 7-year-old son, Bobby. She was walking down the hallway of her home one afternoon and walked past the bathroom. There's Bobby in the bathroom bandaging his finger. Blood's running down his hand. She rushed into the bathroom and said, "Bobby, honey, what happened?" He said, "I smashed my finger with the hammer." She said, "I didn't hear you crying." He said, "I didn't know you were home." They know when it's important to get our attention and how to get our attention. I have several rules of thumb that I want to share with you. And the first one is, the most important thing may not be what you do, but what you do after what you have done. Ponder that. I am not a perfect parent. Let me show you how that rule of thumb works. I came home one afternoon from work. It had been a terribly long day. A number of things had gone wrong. When I got home, my wife had headed up to here with our 5-year-old daughter. And in about 30 minutes, I had headed up to here with our 5-year-old daughter, too. And the next thing I knew, I was yelling at my 5-year-old daughter. I have never stood before a group of parents and said to them, "Now go home and yell at your children. It's good for them." I've never done that. But here I was doing that, violating something I believe in. And a few minutes later, the next thing I know, I not only am yelling at her, but I'm threatening her. "If you don't stop that, I will." I've never suggested that parents do that sort of thing, and here I was doing it. But I don't believe that that was the most important thing that happened in my interaction in our relationship that day. I think the most important thing that happened in my relationship with my daughter that day was what I did a couple of hours later when I'm sitting on the side of her bed tucking her in for the night. And I'm saying to her, "Carla, this afternoon, when I yelled at you, I shouldn't have done that. I know better. But Carla, at that moment, I was so angry at you, I couldn't think of anything else to do, so I just yelled at you." And my 5-year-old daughter's lying there taking all of this in. When I finished, my 5-year-old daughter said, "Daddy, you could have said, 'I'm mad at you,' which is what I teach." And I had to be reminded of that by a 5-year-old. Now, look at that scene and think, what did my daughter learn that was important that day? I think she learned some really important lessons about a relationship. I think one lesson she learned is you can recover a relationship, because I had broken our relationship that afternoon. Therefore, I'm responsible for reconnecting with my daughter, for reestablishing that relationship. And I did that, or at least began the process of it. I think she also learned an important lesson about admitting that you've made a mistake. How else will our children learn these important things if they don't experience them from us? I think she learned it's okay to admit you made a mistake. But maybe the most important thing that she learned was that I loved her enough to admit those things. And I loved her enough to rebuild the relationship that I had broken. I can't always be present with my children to ensure that they will make the right decision. So let me share with you how to work on that. And this is my Oreo cookie theory. It came about when my oldest daughter was 3 years of age. We were visiting in my parents' home in Oklahoma. It was 9:30 at night. Out of the kitchen, into the front room where we were visiting, came my 3-year-old daughter. Now, I just told you something really important about me. It's 9:30 at night. She's 3 years old. A 3-year-old should not be allowed to be up at 9:30 at night. You see, folks, I'm just like the rest of you. I don't always do all the good things that I know how to do, but I have learned to live with that rule of thumb that the most important thing may not be what I do, but what I do after what I have done. I make mistakes, just like you do. Well, here came my 3-year-old daughter out of the kitchen, clutching Oreo cookies to her tummy. One look at her, and it was quickly apparent to me a 3-year-old should not be allowed to consume 37 Oreo cookies on her way to bed. And I'm just about to say to her, Kimberly, go put the cookies back, but no words came out of my mouth. Instead, there was this intervening thought, and the thought was, Gary, do you realize her entire life you have been telling her what to do? When will she ever learn what it feels like to make a choice? When will she ever learn what responsibility feels like if you keep telling her just exactly what to do? So I said to her, before I tell you what I said to her, there is a rule of thumb that goes with the Oreo cookie theory. And the rule of thumb is you give choices commensurate with the child's ability to respond responsibly. Don't write that down. Here's what that means. You give big choices to big kids. You give little choices to little kids. You don't give big choices to little children. Too much responsibility. This won't seem like much of a choice to you that I gave my 3-year-old daughter, but you must remember, it's the first choice I had ever given her in her entire life. Here she comes across the floor into the living room there, and I said to her, Kimberly, you may choose to keep one of the cookies to eat and put the rest back, or you may choose to put all the cookies back. Which do you choose to do? Stopped her dead in her tracks. She has a choice to process. And I knew she was processing the choice because I was watching her eyes. Have you ever watched toddlers? They think they can see in their minds. She's working this choice over. And she went back out in the kitchen and she came out with one Oreo cookie in her hand. And my Oreo cookie theory was born right on the spot. And I've been perfecting it ever since. Now, you could say, yes, Gary, but what if she had insisted on 2 Oreo cookies to eat? Folks, the beauty of choice giving is you fall back on the choice. I'm sorry, I know you'd like to have 2 cookies to eat, but that's not a part of the choice. The choices are, you may choose to keep 1 cookie to eat and put the rest back, or you may choose to put all the cookies back. Which do you choose? Folks, it doesn't work if there's not the word choose in there. Let me show you how this